Welcome back to the Toolbox Episode 3, How to Reconnect with Your Child After Separation. This is an educational series built to share calm strategies for fathers working through separation, co-parenting, and personal recovery. It does not provide gambling advice, legal advice, medical advice, or mental health advice. Adapt any principle or tool responsibly to your own situation. If life feels stressful, seek licensed professional support in your area. The purpose of this series is awareness, discipline, and self-control, not a replacement for help. This episode of the Toolbox is about fathers learning how to reconnect with their children after separation, without forcing closeness, without chasing validation, and without breaking themselves in the process. This is where emotional intelligence becomes tactical discipline. This is where we build connection using nervous system safety. Because silence isn't always about punishment. Sometimes silence is protection. Tonight, we're going to build a reconnection strategy using structure, not desperation, using consistency, not frantic repair attempts, using emotional calm, not emotional force. Fellas, the first time I truly understood the phrase, "silence feels like punishment," was a few years ago. A friend of a friend approached me, not for parenting or legal advice, but simply asking for some guidance on how he could reconnect with his daughter again without making things worse. He had been through a divorce that dragged on for nearly 2 years straight, but within that period, he tried to maintain his connection with his daughter. But because of the negativity between mom and dad, he hadn't seen his daughter at any time in those 2 years. Eventually, the court awarded him 2 Fridays a month, which wasn't a lot, but it was a start and a small win. But when he finally had the right to see her, she refused to see him. When he asked her why, she just said she didn't want to see him anymore. But she said it calmly. She wasn't angry. She didn't shout. She just said she didn't want to see him. He was confused because she made one thing painfully clear. She said, "I don't hate you, but I don't need you." He continued to send soft, no-pressure messages, gentle invitations like, "Hi, it's been a while. I would love to see you." But nothing changed, and before you know it, a full year had passed, but he still hadn't seen her. But here's the part that affected him the most. After a while, he eventually repaired his friendship with his ex-partner, and they were getting along like responsible adults do. There was no romance between them, just mutual respect. So she was actively encouraging their daughter to spend time with her dad. She kept the door open, but his daughter never allowed him back in. That's when I realized how difficult it was when dealing with a child whose preference is to remain silent towards you. It is far more hurtful than when they vocally express themselves by shouting and screaming for a little while. But sometimes children use silence as armor. Regardless of the reason, when a teenager feels safer being silent, the worst approach you could take is trying to force your way through. Your job is to learn how to wait with dignity. Now, here are 10 tools to help you on your journey. Tool 1. The steady signal discipline. Why this works. When silence becomes the primary communication channel, the nervous system of a teen reads everything as a threat until proven otherwise. Short, consistent, predictable contact removes pressure. This teaches kids that dad's presence isn't dangerous, isn't demanding, and isn't trying to emotionally force closeness. Research on low-pressure communication shows that teens in loyalty conflict experience hypervigilance around parental contact. Every message is scanned for hidden agendas, guilt, or emotional manipulation. A steady signal bypasses that scan because it's too simple to contain a trap. It's a pulse, not a conversation. Over time, the pulse becomes background noise, in a good way. Something their nervous system stops treating as threat and starts treating as rhythm. Slow neutrality disarms fear faster than persuasion or explanation ever could. How to apply it? Send one short line once a day. Same time, same tone, same emotional flatness. But no expectations, no chasing. No attempts to have a deep talk. No follow-up messages at all. For example, "Morning, thinking of you." Or, "Proud of your effort this week." Send it at 7 a.m. every day or 8 p.m. every night. Pick one time and lock it in. After you send it, place your phone in the kitchen, face down, and walk away. Don't check for blue ticks. Don't wait for a reply. The signal is the message. If they don't reply for 6 months, you still keep sending it. You're teaching your child's nervous system that Dad is predictable. Dad doesn't punish me for not responding. Dad is a safe background presence. Be mindful. Never ever escalate the situation when your child doesn't respond. Silence is not rejection. Sometimes silence is regulation. The moment you weaponize the silence, I've sent 50 messages and you haven't replied once, you destroy the bridge you are building. Also, never vary the message tone based on your mood. If you're in a bad mood, don't send the message. If you're hopeful because she sent you a breadcrumb, thanks. Don't send an excited message. Keep the signal flat, warm, and steady, regardless of her response or your emotional state. Your discipline protects her safety. Educational summary. Teenage silence as protective withdrawal creates hypervigilance around parental contact. Steady signal discipline provides predictable, non-demanding presence that proves Dad is safe background rhythm, not threat requiring defensive response. Research shows children don't respond to long explanations after separation. They respond to patterns. When contact is unpredictable, emotionally heavy, or inconsistent, the child's nervous system shifts into a scanning mode. They begin to look for pressure, tension, or hidden expectations in every interaction. Over time, this makes communication feel unsafe, even when nothing harmful is being said. But when contact is short, predictable, and emotionally steady, something different happens. The child's system starts to recognize a pattern. Dad shows up. Dad stays calm. Nothing is demanded. That consistency reduces their internal tension. Instead of preparing for emotional stress, the child begins to relax into the interaction. This is how connection stabilizes after separation. Not through intensity, not through deep explanations, but through repeated signals of safety over time. Proven effectiveness. Consistent, low-pressure contact routines are supported in the post-divorce communication literature as a pattern that can reduce perceived threat, lower avoidance, and keep an attachment thread intact without escalating pressure. In practice, the mechanism is the same. Predictable signals reduce ambiguity. Ambiguity reduces defensive scanning, and reduced scanning makes minimal engagement more likely over time. Tool 2. The non-demand contact rule. Why this works. Teens pull away hardest when they fear being dragged emotionally into analysis or explanations. Every question feels like a trap. How are you? Sounds like an audit. Why won't you talk to me? Sounds like an accusation. Do you want to see me? Sounds like pressure. Non-demand contact protects psychological safety and proves you are not here to corner, interrogate, or force closeness. Research on autonomy-supportive parenting shows that teens who feel interrogated experience increased withdrawal, while teens who receive information without demands feel safer engaging when they're ready. Statements are gifts. Questions are invoices. When you stop sending invoices, the debt she feels starts to dissolve, because safety brings proximity over time. How to apply it? You must only send statements, no questions. No emotional checking, no persuasion. Examples: saw your netball match. You played well. Or parents' evening went well. Teacher said your essays are brilliant. Every message must end with a period, not a question mark. If you catch yourself typing, "How are you?" delete it and replace with, "Hope you're well." Maintain this direction for weeks without measuring responses. Some weeks they'll completely ignore every message. Some weeks they might send a one-word reply. Both are acceptable. You're not trying to start conversations. You're building evidence that contact with Dad is safe. Be mindful. Never emotionally audit your child's replies. Your steadiness is based on your discipline, not their response rate. Never say, "I've said hello 20 times. Why can't you say hi once?" That's you breaking the rule. Also, don't sneak questions into messages. "Hope school's going well?" With a question mark is a question. "Hope school's going well." with a period is a statement. The punctuation matters. Finally, don't expect gratitude for following this rule. Kids won't thank you for not interrogating them, but over time, they will notice, and their nervous system will relax. Educational summary. Teenage protective withdrawal intensifies when questions feel like emotional traps or obligations. The non-demand contact rule removes interrogation pressure, proving dad's presence doesn't require the teen to perform, explain, or reciprocate. Research shows when teenagers feel pressured, questioned, or emotionally cornered, their instinct is to withdraw to protect their sense of control. But when communication removes pressure and allows space, something shifts. Instead of defending themselves, the teen's nervous system relaxes. They no longer feel the need to resist, avoid, or shut down interaction. Over time, low-pressure, non-demand communication supports a sense of autonomy. And when autonomy is preserved, reconnection becomes something the teen can move toward voluntarily, rather than something they feel pushed or forced into. This is why reducing questions, expectations, and emotional demand often leads to less resistance and more openness over time. Proven effectiveness. The autonomy support literature supports the principle that reducing interrogative pressure and removing implied obligation can reduce resistance and make engagement more likely on the teen's timeline. The benefit is not better wording, but less perceived control and lower emotional demand. Tool 3. The micro-moment capture. Why this works. When verbal connection is severed, witnessing becomes the language. A father who notices small, specific details about his children's life without commenting or demanding proves he's paying attention even from a distance. This isn't surveillance, it's honoring. Research on felt sense validation shows that adolescents who feel seen by a parent, even when emotionally distant, maintain stronger long-term attachment than adolescents who feel invisible. The micro-moment capture is about collecting tiny observations and reflecting them back neutrally. It says, I see you existing in the world. I see your effort, your growth, and your presence. You don't owe me anything for noticing. I'm just letting you know I see you. Over months, these micro-moments accumulate as evidence. Dad is watching, not to judge, but to witness. How to apply it. Whenever you observe something specific about their life, from a distance, through social media, through reports from school, or through brief encounters, I want you to send one neutral sentence reflecting what you saw. Examples. Noticed your art project on the school Instagram, color choices were bold. Or, heard you stayed late for drama rehearsal Tuesday. The observation must be specific, not generic, neutral, not praise-heavy, and brief, one sentence. Send it once or twice a week maximum. Never follow up, never ask questions, just reflect the moment back to them, then step away. You're building a quiet archive which shows Dad sees you. Be mindful. Never weaponize the observation. No lines like, good to see you're doing something productive since you won't talk to me. That poisons the tool. Also, don't over-observe to the point of surveillance. If they post something on social media, you can comment on it once in a private message. Don't like every post. Don't comment publicly. Don't make them feel monitored. The line between witnessing and stalking is thin. Stay on the witnessing side. Finally, don't expect them to reply. Most micro-moment captures will be met with silence. That's fine. The message still landed. Educational summary. Teenage withdrawal includes fear of being invisible or forgotten by the absent parent. The micro-moment capture provides specific witnessing without demand, proving dad sees teen's life and effort even from a distance, countering invisibility fear. Research shows parent-adolescent relationships benefit when parental involvement is experienced as non-intrusive and autonomy-respecting. Other research shows autonomy-supportive communication over time reduces defensiveness and supports voluntary engagement. Proven effectiveness. Evidence from parent-adolescent research supports that perceived surveillance increases resistance, while autonomy respecting parental presence, including limited, non-intrusive acknowledgments, is less likely to trigger avoidance. The mechanism is reduced threat perception and preserved autonomy. Tool 4. The tone calibration loop. Why this works? Because even when you regulate your tone before making contact with your children, that's only the first step on the ladder. Most fathers assume, if I felt calm, I sounded calm. But that's not always true, because your tone doesn't only change when you're stressed. It also leaks from your nervous system in subtle ways like tiredness, urgency, slight irritation, hunger, and much more, even when your words are calm and controlled. Over time, this creates a gap, what you think you're sending versus what your child is actually receiving. The tone calibration loop closes that gap. Instead of guessing whether your tone is safe or not, you begin to observe, adjust, and refine it. This turns your tone from a one-time effort into a repeatable feedback system, because consistency is what the child's nervous system responds to. How to apply it. After you send any messages, make any calls, or send any voice notes, you must run a short check. Step 1. Play it back. If possible, reread your message slowly, or listen to the voice note you sent to them. Ask yourself, would this message feel calm to someone who doesn't trust me yet? Step 2. The tone check. Have a quick scan. You're looking for hidden pressure, hope I see you soon. Urgency, get back to me soon please. Emotional weight, I really miss seeing you. Forced politeness, acting polite so they reply. If you find that any of that is present, your tone is far from clean and you must regulate before making contact again. Step 3. Adjust or pause. But if needed, you must rewrite the message, re-record the voice note, or completely delay contact altogether. Not receiving a message is much better than receiving a message that carries emotional instability. Step 4. The weekly pattern check. Choose one day of the week to reflect briefly. Did I stay consistent? Did I react at any point? Did my tone shift based on my mood? You're not aiming for perfection, you're aiming for predictability over time. Here's an example. You send a message saying, "Hope you're okay. Let me know if you need anything." You then read it back, and it sounds neutral, but underneath, there's a tone of expectation. You adjust it to, "Hope you're okay. I'll check in again next week." Now, there's no pressure. There's no hidden demand. There's no emotional hook. That's what we call a calibrated message. Be mindful. Never start overthinking things. This is not about analyzing every single word that you sent, becoming robotic, or trying to sound perfect. It's about removing any hidden pressure, instability, or emotional leakage. Also, never use this loop to chase a response. If your tone is being adjusted just to get a reply, that intention will still leak through you. This tool is about clean communication, not outcome control. Educational summary. After separation, children develop heightened sensitivity to emotional signals. They don't just listen to you communicate, they interpret it. When your tone is inconsistent, the child learns, "I need to stay guarded." The tone calibration loop interrupts that pattern. By reviewing and adjusting your communication as time goes by, the father becomes more predictable in how he presents himself. This reduces ambiguity, lowers defensive scanning, and makes contact much easier to tolerate. It's not because of what was said, but because of how consistently it's delivered. Research shows children and adolescents rely heavily on emotional cues when interpreting communication, especially in strained or uncertain relationships. When adult signals are inconsistent, the brain shifts into a monitoring state, looking for threat or pressure beneath the surface. But when communication remains stable across repeated interactions, the need for constant interpretation eventually reduces. The interaction becomes easier to process. Over time, this allows the relationship to move from guarded to more open and predictable. The consistency of emotional signaling matters more than isolated moments of calm. Proven effectiveness. Fathers who review and adjust their communication after contact tend to become more consistent over time. This reduces reactive messaging, lowers emotional leakage, and improves overall communication stability. And over weeks and months, small adjustments compound. Messages become clearer. Your tone becomes steadier, and the child no longer needs to analyze every interaction as closely. But the result is not immediate reconnection, but reduced tension within the communication itself. Tool 5. Low-pressure identity. Why this works. Teens want to be seen without being pulled. When dad notices identity from a distance, without shaping it, this creates emotional oxygen. During adolescence, your child is actively forming their sense of self, separate from their parents, separate from their childhood, and unique to them. Every time a parent tries to steer that identity, you should focus more on academics, or why don't you try this instead? The teen experiences it as invasion. But when a parent witnesses identity neutrally, without judgment, without direction, just acknowledgement, the teen feels honored. Research on identity formation shows that adolescents who feel their emerging selves are seen, not shaped, by parents, develop stronger self-concept, and maintain better long-term relationships. You're not here to mold them. You're here to see their becoming. How to apply it? You must acknowledge their growth, skill, or identity in simple statements. No feedback loops, no analysis. Just witness it gently. Examples. Saw you're into photography now. Your compositions have strong framing. Or, noticed you dyed your hair. Suits you. Or, heard you're reading Murakami. He's dense but worth it. The statement must be neutral, not praise-heavy. Specific, not generic, and free of advice. You're not saying, you should keep doing this, or, I'm so proud you're finally interested in something. You're just saying, I see what you're doing and you're doing well. I'm not trying to change it. Send these once every few weeks, and let them breathe. Be mindful. Never comment on areas they feel insecure about. If she's struggling with her weight, don't comment on her appearance. If she's sensitive about academics, don't comment on her grades. Stick to neutral and positive identity markers like hobbies, interests, creative expressions, or skills. Also, never turn witnessing into control. I see you're into photography should never become, I bought you a camera, now you have to take photos. Witnessing is observation, not investment. The moment it feels transactional, it's over with. Educational summary. Teenage identity formation requires freedom from parental shaping. Low-pressure identity witnessing honors their emerging self without steering or judging them. This proves that dad sees who his teenage child is becoming without trying to control or redirect their identity development. Research shows. Identity formation. Research shows adolescents develop stronger self-concept when parents witness rather than shape their identity. Autonomy supportive parenting studies shows non-directive acknowledgement increases teen confidence and long-term relationship quality. Developmental psychology shows parental honor versus control of emerging identity, predicts secure attachment maintenance through adolescence. Proven effectiveness. Developmental and identity formation frameworks support that autonomy respecting parental acknowledgement can preserve relationship quality and reduce reactance during adolescence, particularly when the teen experiences parental contact as non-controlling. Tool 6. The pressure-free weekly pulse. Why this works. When a father measures every interaction for signs of progress, the teen feels evaluation pressure and withdraws to protect autonomy. Sending a weekly pulse, neutral, low-pressure update about dad's life creates parallel presence without expectation. The teen sees dad exists and is calm and steady without being forced to reciprocate. Research on low-stakes communication shows teens engage more with parents who share their own lives without requiring disclosure. Over time, this presence builds a connective thread even in silence. How to apply it? Once a week only, I want you to send a 2 to 3 sentence update about your week. Don't ask any questions, don't make any requests, just a neutral sharing. Examples. Fixed the kitchen tap this week. Felt good to solve something small. Thinking of you. Or, I ran along the Thames Saturday morning. Saw 3 swans near Hammersmith. Hope your week was decent. Send on the same day each week. After sending, do not follow up or expect a reply. Be mindful. If you don't receive a reply from them, you must never attach a meaning to it. And you must avoid turning the weekly pulse into guilt or pressure. Another quiet week without hearing from you. Keep messages factual. Keep it light and grounded, but absolutely no emotional dumping. Always keep your tone steady and neutral. Educational summary. Teenage withdrawal intensifies when dad measures every interaction for progress. Pressure-free weekly pulse provides neutral updates, creating parallel presence that maintains connection without performance pressure. Research shows parent-adolescent monitoring versus knowledge literature consistently show that teens react negatively when parental contact feels evaluative, intrusive, or designed to extract information. When communication shifts away from surveillance and towards simple, voluntary exposure, "This is my life, you don't have to respond," resistance drops. Autonomy-supportive parenting frameworks explain this effect as a reduction in perceived control and obligation, allowing the adolescent nervous system to stay regulated rather than defensive. Proven effectiveness. Across adolescent parent research, lower pressure contact patterns are associated with reduced avoidance and greater openness over time. When parental presence is predictable, non-intrusive, and free of performance demands, teens are more likely to tolerate contact and eventually initiate it themselves. A weekly pulse works not because it invites engagement, but because it removes the need to resist. It functions as background relational continuity rather than a bid for compliance or reassurance. Tool 7. Silence Interpretation Discipline. Why this works. The father's interpretation of silence decides whether he collapses or keeps his composure. The story you tell yourself becomes the emotional weapon or the emotional shield. When you interpret silence as rejection, punishment, or proof of failure, your nervous system activates, and that activation leaks into your messages, your tone, your mental health, and your behavior. But when you interpret silence neutrally, as protection, as space, or as seasonal weather, your nervous system stays regulated. Research on cognitive reframing shows that how we interpret ambiguous situations determines our emotional and behavioral response. Silence is ambiguous. It could mean many things. But if you choose the most compassionate interpretation, "My daughter is protecting herself, not punishing me," you protect your own emotional stability, which in turn protects her safety. How to apply it. Anytime you feel like reacting to your child's silence towards you, I want you to label it as neutral. Nothing more. Neutral space, neutral time, neutral data. When she doesn't reply to your message, say to yourself, "Silence is neutral." When a week goes by with no contact, say, "Silence is neutral." You're training your brain not to overreact, not to personalize, and not to spiral out of control. Some fathers write, "Silence equals neutral," on a card and keep it in their wallet. When the emotional story starts, "They hate me," or "I've lost her," or "This will never end," they pull out the card and regulate. Because silence is not the final verdict. Sometimes silence is just silence. Be mindful. Never add a reason behind their silence towards you. Don't say, "She's ignoring me because she's been poisoned against me," or "Her silence means I'm a terrible father." Those are stories, not facts. Stick to the only fact. You're still showing up even with no contact. Also, don't bypass the discipline by seeking interpretation from others. Don't text your friend, "Still no reply from my kid. What's the reason for that?" That's outsourcing your downfall. Keep interpretation internal and keep it neutral. Finally, don't confuse neutral with being numb. You're allowed to feel the pain of their silence. You're just not allowed to interpret it as permanent rejection. Educational summary. When your teenager remains silent and never replies to you, that triggers parental catastrophic interpretation, rejection, failure, or permanent loss. This activates your nervous system and leaks into your behavior. Silence interpretation. Discipline reframes silence as neutral data, protecting dad's regulation, which protects your child's safety. Research shows, when something is unclear or ambiguous, the mind automatically tries to fill in the gaps. It doesn't stay neutral for a long time. It creates its own story. And that story shapes how you feel, how you think, and how you react. If silence is interpreted as rejection or failure, the emotional response becomes heavier. Frustration builds, urgency builds, and that pressure often leaks into your response. But when the same situation is held without attaching a meaning to it, something different happens. The reaction slows down and the intensity lowers. So instead of escalating it internally, you create space between what is happening and how you respond to it. Over time, your ability to observe information without immediately interpreting it reduces emotional reactivity and helps maintain steadiness in your behavior. That steadiness is what protects both you and the interaction from unnecessary escalation. Proven effectiveness. Cognitive and mindfulness-based models support that changing interpretation and reducing automatic catastrophic meaning-making can reduce emotional reactivity and help maintain behavioral consistency. Research also shows neutral labeling interrupts escalation and supports self-regulation. Tool 8. The Long Arc Father Frame. Why this works. Teenage silence warps parental perception of time, making weeks feel like months and months feel like years. Most teenager and parent silence situations are temporary, but parents often collapse under pressure and end up rushing the reconnection. The long arc father frame shifts focus from immediate responses to seasons, reinforcing consistency and stability. Research shows long-term steady presence predicts reconnection more than early responsiveness does. How to apply it? I want you to anchor expectations to months and seasons, never days. Ask yourself this question. 6 months from now, will I be glad I stayed calm and steady today? Use a physical calendar to keep track of your own consistency. 1 day per week you send a signal. Do not check every day for replies. Remind yourself the trajectory is long-term only. Be mindful. You must always avoid short-term measurements, which will trigger anxiety, nervousness, and possibly cause you to collapse. Don't announce to your child that you're playing the long game. That's strictly for your internal compass. Do not reduce the amount of contact you make because you don't have the patience, because consistency is key. Educational summary. Teenage silence warps parental time perception and triggers premature collapse. Fathers begin measuring their progress in days and weeks instead of developmental phases. The long arc father frame recalibrates expectations to seasons rather than moments, which protects your steady presence and prevents despair-driven escalation when progress appears slow or invisible. Research shows. Adolescent development research show that withdrawal during adolescence is a normative part of individuation, particularly when teens are managing independence, loyalty conflicts, and emotional safety. As teens differentiate from parents, they often reduce contact to regain internal control and psychological space. Understanding silence as part of this developmental process helps prevent misinterpretation and reactive parental behavior. Proven effectiveness. Self-determination research indicates that motivation for reconnection is strongest when autonomy is preserved and pressure is absent. When fathers adopt long arc framing, they reduce urgency-driven behaviors that undermine safety and instead sustain consistent, low-pressure presence. This internal shift supports behavioral consistency over time and increases the likelihood that reconnection, when it occurs, happens voluntarily and on the adolescent's timeline rather than because of force or coercion. Tool 9. Emotional boundary protection. Why this works. When a father collapses emotionally, a teenager automatically experiences it as instability, and instability is psychologically unsafe. Boundaries protect the bond before the bond disappears. If your emotional regulation depends on your child's response, you've made them responsible for keeping you stable. That's a crushing weight for a teenager. They'll feel it even if you don't say it out loud, and they'll pull further away to protect themselves from the responsibility of managing your emotions. Research on emotional boundaries in parent-child relationships shows that adolescents need to feel their parent is independently stable and that the parent has their own support systems in place and their own identity. When you protect your emotional boundaries, you're saying, "I'm okay, whether you reply or not." How to apply it? Your emotional regulation can't ever depend on anyone's reply. You must protect your nervous system separately by building a routine, going to the gym, a men's support group. You must add structure to your life. Build a 3-pillar system: your body, daily exercise, brotherhood, weekly check-in with a friend or a support group. Build one small improvement daily, like learning a new craft. These pillars hold you steady when your child's silence knocks you sideways. Also, establish the golden rule. I will not send a message when I'm emotionally activated. If you're in a shame spiral, a rage moment, or a desperation wave, pause. Use a 90-minute buffer. Call your friend. Move your body. Only send when you're regulated. Your emotional stability is your responsibility only. Be mindful. Never let your emotional mood creep into messages you send to your child. No messages like, "I don't know how much longer I can do this," or "Your silence is killing me," or "Please just talk to me. I need to know you're okay." That's you making them responsible for your regulation. It's not a child's job to fix an adult. It's your job to stay steady so they have someone safe to return to. Also, never justify emotional dumping by saying, "I'm just being honest about my feelings." Honesty without boundaries is harmful. Be honest with your friend or your journal, not with your children. Educational summary. Teenage withdrawal intensifies when teens feel responsible for their parents' emotional stability. Emotional boundary protection ensures dad regulates independently through external support structures, proving teen isn't responsible for holding dad together, and therefore they feel less pressure and anxiety. Research shows. Parentification research describes how children and adolescents experience psychological strain when they are implicitly or explicitly positioned as regulators of a parent's emotional state. When a parent's stability appears to depend on the child's responses, adolescents often withdraw to protect themselves from emotional overload. This framework explains why teens pull back when they sense that contact carries responsibility, reassuring, or stabilizing a parent, rather than simply being a relationship they can enter freely. Proven effectiveness. Recent post-divorce family systems research shows that boundary diffusion, where emotional roles between parent and child become blurred, is associated with poorer parent-adolescent relationship quality over time. When adults maintain regulation using adult support systems rather than leaning on their children, relational safety improves and defensive withdrawal is reduced. Clear emotional boundaries protect the relationship by ensuring the child is not positioned as an emotional caretaker, supporting healthier long-term engagement in separated family contexts. Tool 10. The Quiet Future Invitation. Why this works. The future must feel optional, never forced. A teenager returns when they sense a doorway, not a trap. When a father demands future connection, "We need to have a proper conversation soon," or "When can we spend a day together?" The teen hears obligation and pressure. But when a father offers a future possibility with no strings attached, no dates, no commitments, no guilt, the teenager registers, "Dad is leaving space for me. I can step into that space when I'm ready, or not at all. Either way, he's not forcing me." Research on invitation-based connection show that adolescents engage more with parents who offer opportunities without demanding participation. The quiet future invitation keeps the door open without standing in the doorway, demanding entry. How to apply it? You need to occasionally send low-pressure, neutral future possibility lines. No dates, no demands, just open potential. Examples: "When you're ready, coffee's on me, no rush." Or, "Anytime you want to go for a walk along the river, I'm here." Or, "If you ever want to talk, I'm one message away." Send these once every 6 to 8 weeks maximum. They should feel like leaving a key under the mat, not like sending an invoice. After you send it, don't follow up. Don't ask, "Did you think about my offer?" Never escalate to, "It's been 3 months. Are you ever going to take me up on it?" The invitation stands indefinitely. They know it's there, and that's enough. Be mindful. Never used the quiet future to negotiate. No lines like, if you just agree to one coffee, we could start fixing things. That makes the invitation transactional. The future invitation must be free, meaning they can decline it forever, and you won't punish that decline. Also, never attach conditions. When you're ready to talk, I'm here, but only if you're actually ready to work on this relationship. That is not an invitation, that's a demand with a clause. Keep it clean. Keep the door open, no strings, no timeline. Finally, never over-invite. One future invitation every 6 to 8 weeks is plenty. More than that feels like pressure. Educational summary. Teenage silence stems partly from fear that reconnection will be forced or obligatory. The quiet future invitation offers an optional doorway with no timeline or demand, proving dad leaves space for teen to return voluntarily when and if they're ever ready. Research shows, invitation-based connections show, adolescents engage more with optional opportunities versus demanded participation. Autonomy theory, demonstrating teens protect agency by withdrawing from pressure. Door holding versus door forcing studies show teens walk through open doors at their own pace but resist forced entry. Proven effectiveness. Self-determination theory supports that optional, autonomy-preserving invitations reduce resistance compared with demanded participation, especially in adolescent contexts where agency protection is high. The research shows that non-pressure openings preserve approachability without triggering control threat. Now, here are 5 resilient practices you can use at any time. 1. The non-reaction fortress. When a father is dealing with silence from his child, his biggest trap is emotional reflex. Because the brain interprets silence as evidence, or as a threat, or as rejection, or even judgment. In those moments of panic, a father's nervous system demands a quick reaction like sending another text message, making another call, doing more explaining, and this is where the real damage begins. This practice builds the discipline of holding center while the mind tries to spiral. We call this internal steel. You have the ability not to move in fear. How to apply? I want you to set a strict 48-hour non-reaction buffer. Absolutely nothing gets sent to them during that time. If you're hurt or emotional, it must be processed privately, not publicly. When the urge to text or call hits hardest, when you've just been blanked at the school gates, when another message sits on delivered for 3 days, then you see them post something on social media and feel invisible. Set a timer for 48 hours. During that window, body movement. Go visit some friends, go to the gym, call a family member, or add to your journal. Then choose a calm action or no action at all. Most emotional spikes fade out quickly. The message you would have sent yesterday, desperate, angry, or guilt-laden, is not the same message you'd send 24 hours later. Key truth. Silence cannot dictate your behavior if you own your response speed. The father who reacts immediately to silence is obviously controlled by silence. The father who can pause, regulate, and choose his response is in command of himself, and that self-command is what eventually makes him safe to return to. You're not ignoring your pain, you're just refusing to weaponize it. 2. The identity ladder. When a teenager pulls away, fathers can lose their identity and collapse into only being the shutout dad. This practice restores balance by building identity across multiple domains. You stabilize emotionally and become harder to knock down. You remain present, even while you're waiting. How to apply? Choose 3 domains only: health, craft, and financial stability. Each week, take one small, trackable step in each domain. Health, 1 30-minute walk, 1 home-cooked meal, or 1 night of 7+ hours sleep. Craft, learn 1 small skill, read a book to completion, or create something with your hands. Financial stability, stay on top of your bills, save 50 pounds for your child a month, or fix 1 broken item at home. Write the wins down weekly. You're not proving anything to anyone else. You're proving to yourself that you're more than just a broken dad. Key truth: fatherhood matters, but it can't be your only pillar. When your child's silence defines your entire identity, you'll definitely collapse. When fatherhood is one pillar among three, you stay upright even when one pillar shakes and stumbles. That solidity is what allows you to wait with dignity. 3. Silence, future, and confidence. Silence creates future panic. Men start obsessing over whether reconnection will ever happen. This practice redirects fear inward and builds confidence without depending on the outcome. Quiet certainty feels safer than urgency. How to apply. Every Sunday evening, write one private line beginning with, "When connection returns." For example, "When connection returns, I will listen more than I speak. When connection returns, I will stay calm and steady." Store these lines privately. You're not manifesting it. You're anchoring yourself to when, not if. And over time, you'll build a clear picture of how you'll show up when the door opens again. Key truth. Intense panic makes you want to react now. Patience prepares you quietly. Confidence attracts and desperation repels. This practice builds the former and starves the latter. 4. The social containment standard. Unprocessed pain will always leak out of an unregulated dad. It doesn't matter if you think that you're strong enough. It could happen at work, at a social event, or at home. And each spill damages the dignity you'll need for a clean reconnection later. This practice protects your future father narrative. How to apply. Create a strict internal rule. All conversations about your children remain private and minimal. You must only choose 1 or 2 containment people. Talk to them privately, in person or on the phone is fine. No social media posts, no group chat venting, no story dumping at work. If you wouldn't want your child to read it 5 years from now, don't say it publicly. Key truth. A controlled narrative helps you build a clean runway for reconnection later. Teens notice what's said about them and their parents. Dignity and restraint make you safer to approach later. Containing the pain isn't hiding the pain. It's protecting your child from it until it's processed properly. 5. The deep sleep guard. Nighttime is known for often distorting a person's reality. While sleep debt is known for destroying a person's emotional discipline faster than heartbreak will. This practice protects your brain so you don't sabotage your own future at 3 a.m. in the morning. How to apply. Build a non-negotiable sleep ritual with 3 rules. 1. No phone after 10 p.m. Put it in another room and make sure it's on silent. 2. One calming wind-down ritual. Shower, music, stretching, or reading. 3. Sleep before midnight. Aim for 10:30 to 11 p.m. Deep emotional regulation happens before midnight. You must guard that window fiercely. Key truth. A rested father is a rational thinking father. Rational fathers reconnect. Exhausted fathers send messages, then regret it. When you protect your sleep, you protect your ability to stay steady, and steadiness is what makes reconnection possible in the future. Now here's a closing drill called the Quiet Beach. Purpose: to teach the father's nervous system how to sit inside silence without panicking, without demanding, and without devaluing his own worth. This drill synthesizes every tool from episode 3, Staying Steady. Tool 1, Removing Demand. Tool 2, Witnessing Without Pressure. Tool 3, Regulating Tone. Tool 4, Honoring Identity. Tool 5, Pulsing Without Expectation. Tool 6, Interpreting Silence Neutrally. Tool 7, Thinking Long Arc. Tool 8, Protecting Boundaries. Tool 9, Leaving Doors Open. Tool 10. This is where theory becomes embodied practice. The setup. This weekend on Saturday or Sunday. Duration, 5 minutes. Location, a bench at the park, near a football pitch, or anywhere neutral. What you need, just you. No phone. Leave it in your pocket on silent or in the car. Conditions, alone. No distractions, no headphones, just sitting. Phase 1. Sit and notice. First 90 seconds. Find your bench. Sit down. Plant both feet on the ground. Hands on your thighs or resting on the bench beside you. For the first 90 seconds, just sit. Do nothing. Look at what's in front of you. The trees, people walking around. Look up at the sky or at tall buildings. Don't try to meditate. Don't think about fixing anything. Just sit and exist beside the silence. As you sit there, notice what sensations are flowing through your body. Does your chest feel tight? Are your hands fidgeting? Does your mind start constructing imaginary conversations with your child? Does the urge to pull out your phone and check for messages spike? Never fight those urges. Just notice them. Name them silently. I feel the urge to check my phone. I feel the urge to send them a text message right now. Let the urges exist without acting on them. When 90 seconds is up, take one deep breath. 4 counts in through your nose. Hold for 2. Exhale for 6 through your mouth. Lesson translation. You just practice sitting with discomfort without trying to escape it. Most fathers run from silence. They fill it with texts, overthinking, or desperation moves. You just sat in it. That's strength. The more you practice sitting in discomfort without reacting, the less power silence has over you. You're teaching your nervous system. Silence is not a threat I need to fix immediately. Silence is just space. Phase 2. Breathe and anchor. 2 minutes. While still sitting there, bring your attention to your breath. Don't change it yet. Just notice it. Is it shallow, fast, tight in your chest? Now start the pattern. Inhale through your nose for 4 counts. Hold for 2. Exhale through your mouth for 6 counts. Do this 6 times slowly. As you breathe, say this line silently or whisper it if you're alone. Silence is space, not rejection. Breathe in. Silence is space. Breathe out, not rejection. Repeat this 6 times with your breath. Let the words sync with your inhales and exhales. After 6 rounds, pause. Notice how your body feels. Has your chest softened? Have your shoulders dropped? Has the tightness eased slightly? If yes, good. If no, that's fine too. Just keep practicing. Lesson translation. This phase teaches your brain to pair silence with calm instead of panic. Every time you practice breathing through discomfort and repeating the anchor phrase, you're rewiring the neural pathway. Right now, your brain might say, silence equals danger. I must act now. You're training it to say, silence equals space. That rewiring doesn't happen overnight. It happens through repetition. This drill is 1 rep. Do it weekly and the pathway strengthens. Phase 3. Stand and commit. Final 90 seconds. After your 6 breaths, sit for 30 more seconds in stillness. Just exist. You've done the work. Now you're just chilling. When you're ready, stand up slowly. As you stand, lift your shoulders up toward your ears and hold for 2 seconds, then drop them down with a big exhale. Shake out your hands, roll your neck gently, and take a deep breath. Now, before you walk away, say this out loud or whisper if others are near. I'm still my children's father. Silence doesn't change that. Say it once. Let it land. Then walk away slowly. No need to rush. Walk like a man who just did something important. Before the day ends, send them 1 message or write in your journal just 1 line. Something neutral, warm, and steady. Thinking of you, I hope today was a good day. Proud of your test results from school this week. Sleep well. Send it. Then put the phone down and step away. Lesson translation. This final phase seals the practice by moving from internal regulation, sitting, breathing, anchoring, to external action, standing, committing, sending the signal. You're proving to yourself that you can sit with their silence, regulate your nervous system, and still show up for your children without collapsing, without demanding, without bitterness. That's the complete cycle. Discomfort, regulation, and steady action. This is the cycle you'll repeat every week, every month, every season, until the door opens again. Not because you forced it, but because you outlasted the silence with dignity. Never forget, reconnection isn't rebuilt by you persuading them. Reconnection is rebuilt over time by remaining stable, calm, and steady. Your job is to outlast their silence with your self-respect intact. while giving your children the emotional room to return when they feel ready. Not when you demand it, but this journey requires patience, not pressure. Tonight, close with the shadow bench reset. Reclaim your nervous system strength. This is what will separate the father who collapses from the father who endures. Protect your steadiness. Guard your tone. Stay committed to the long arc. Your role will never expire, even when your children barely acknowledge you. That's all for today, my friends. Stay calm, stay steady, but remember, once a dad, always a dad. This is an educational series built to share calm strategies for fathers working through separation, co-parenting, and personal recovery. It does not provide gambling advice, legal advice, medical advice, or mental health advice. Adapt any principle or tool responsibly to your own situation. If life feels heavy, seek licensed professional support in your area. The purpose of this series is awareness, discipline, and self-control, not a replacement for help.